Hi, everybody. So we are at 1,009 vanished from vanished. He was forcibly removed. Forcibly removed. You see what the narratives do? They really put words in your mind. It's a hypnosis. It really is a psyop. It's a real psyop, and you have to really fight it to get the truth out. And the truth is that Richard was forcibly removed from his barracks room, and he was taken. He was taken to the arms room, and right there in his building, and his life was taken from him, and his body was then stolen and dismembered and trafficked to Mexico, and the cover up was huge, was absolutely huge, and it cost a lot of money. They spared no expense to totally renovate the arms room, and so that is on orders from James Eisenhower, the commanding general there. So the cover up is huge, and I don't know how they sleep with themselves. I really don't. But today I want to talk about Carlos Manuel Salas. Carlos Manuel Salas, and there's so much to say, and it's already almost 12:30. So let's see if I'm on. Sure. Seems like I'm on. Doesn't want to play for me though, so I can see the comments. I'm not getting it. Make sure. Let's see. Sorry about this, y'all. I'm trying to figure out why things aren't working. Let's see. Okay. 1 minute. It looks like some people are on. It seems that some people are getting this. There you go. Okay. Finally went on. Thank you so much. Thank you, Laura. Thank you. Okay, so I finally see it. It finally popped up. I don't know if it was my Wi-Fi or what it was, but I want to make sure that I can see everybody's comments. And so today I want to talk about Carlos Manuel Salas, and it's just really amazing to even talk about this, and to talk about Cesar Peniche, whose $20 million mansion was searched by the Fiscalia and the FBI, to know kind of what's going on in Mexico and in El Paso pipeline. Well, really the El Paso borderland, right? And these are Siamese sister cities, right beside each other. So many ties. And I think someone came on and said, I'm not from El Paso. Y'all, I was born at White Sands. I went to school right there on Fort Bliss Elementary School. That's where I started my kindergarten. That's where I started going to school. I went to MacArthur Elementary School, and I went to Bassett. I was on the Sand Sharks swim team. I used to jog Fort Bliss. I used to go over the border all the time before before the grip of the Mormon faction cartel tide got so heavy, so tight on El Paso. What a great city. I love El Paso. That's why they won it. That's why they gripped it. That's why they're exploiting it. And of course, that Woody Hunt is a bad player in all of this because his grip is all over El Paso. And if he wanted to make it great, he would have made it great. But he didn't want to do that. He went along with the cartel, the flesh peddlers, 500,000 children being trafficked through Fort Bliss, all of the substances, all of the grooming of these young people to be in these sex cults and everything. I mean, that is all. If Woody Hunt didn't want that, he wouldn't have it. He wouldn't have it. That's how much influence he has on the politics, on the politicians, on Mexico. You have to understand that connection, that Mormon faction connection is in Mexico. It is in Chihuahua in a very, very, very big way. It absolutely controls who is going to serve Maru Campos, the governor of Chihuahua. It was Woody Hunt. It was Paul Foster. It was Alejandra de la Vega that got Cesar Panetti to come up from Mexico City to serve there. It was their recommendation to bring in the traitor, the treasonous General John Kelly to work for the Chihuahua narco state, Sinaloa, El Chapitos controlled Chihuahua government. And they're the ones. They're the ones. And, I can point out to the lower people, right? The lower people like Jay Paul and the lower people that we've met through this whole thing, right? But uh, the source of it, the ones that engineered all of this, is Woody Hunt, is Paul Foster, is Alejandra de la Vega Foster, is General John Kelly, is Cesar Paneche, is Carlos Manuel Salas. Okay. And of course, Maru Campos, and of course, her mother, Maria Eugenia Galvan. And, one thing that popped up in my notes that I had forgotten because you have this flesh peddler, Rafael Arellano Caron, who owns Plenitude Crematorium. And we're going to get in all of this and talk really about Carlos Manuel Salas. But he is um, in working with, well, he lived right next to Beto O'Rourke, right? And he had a trucking business. He has all kinds of businesses. He lives in El Paso, yet he owns Plenitude Crematorium to do the worst kind of things, sacrilege to people's bodies. And, it's this whole funeral fraud business, the whole mortuary fraud business, operations that are connected with Fort Bliss. And, um, so this lady, El Diablo, right, that President Trump's administration has now put out there in the news, La Diabla, um, her family member worked for Beto O'Rourke. Okay, her family member worked for Beto O'Rourke, so that's another connection there. They're all connected to this Plenitude crematorium, to this funeral fraud, to this flesh peddling, to this corpse recycling, to all it's just horrific. It is a horror, absolute horror, and her name is Martha Aguilar. Martha Aguilar, that name Aguilar comes up a lot, okay? Martha Aguilar. And it is very interesting because you have Maria Eugenia Galvan, and you can tell me if that's just common. And God bless you for knowing and paying attention to what's happening in Mexico and speaking Spanish, because this is and knowing the culture, right? Because this is very strange. Maria Eugenia Galvan, right? And there's a lot of Aguilar Ruiz in this case, a lot of Aguilar Ruiz in this whole funeral business thing. And don't forget, I did a lot on who shot Maria, who shot Maria in the Walmart mass shooting case. Well, her name is Maria Eugenia Aguilar Laverette Roth. That's strange to me that her name is Maria Eugenia Aguilar. And because I know that she is a big player in this, that she is connected to this Mormon faction cartel tied uh, power network that orchestrated the Walmart mass shooting. She was targeted. Okay, she was targeted. Um, and it was an execution. Okay, she was shot in the head. This was an execution. And the same thing with Alexander Gerhard Hofmann wrote. He was absolutely targeted and it was an execution. So, but that eh, it has to do with this. I don't know. Y'all tell me. Y'all tell me if that's really strange to have Maria Eugenia Aguilar, Maria Eugenia Galvan, Maria Eugenia Galvan Campos, and Campos is the name of David um, Guadarrama, David Campos Guadarrama, the judge in the Walmart mass shooting case, right? The federal judge. Please, that is just the names, they all connect. Um, it just doesn't, it's not a coincidence. It's just not a coincidence. I don't see it as a coincidence. With all due respect, Mama Bear, that shouldn't be a concern. You are looking for your son who disappeared from his barracks at Fort Bliss. Um, oh gosh, I didn't know what you mean about that. What shouldn't be the concern? Um, uh, Carlos Manuel Salas. Well, Carlos Manuel Salas tampered with our son's case, blocked investigation into our son's case. Um, all of this is connected. Okay, all of this is connected. And Richard's case is just that big. It's just that big. And it is absolutely because Richard is connected with President Trump. Because the main target was President Trump, and because Richard was whistleblowing on the exact violations that President Trump was saying was his reasons for securing the border, Richard was a witness for the policies of President Trump. Okay. And that's why they conducted a counterintelligence with Ray Velarde. Um, and because they tried to set Richard up and it didn't work. It didn't work, and that's why they couldn't release for years. They couldn't release the body cam footage of Richard because he was just standing at attention, being so beautiful, right? And they didn't want him um, shown the way he is as a distinguished honor graduate, as a young man standing at attention, showing respect to the police and full cooperation. They didn't want you to see that, right? Um, because that makes him a reliable source, a reliable witness, a hero, right? A hero. So, yeah, I meant to say it's no one's concern if you are not from El Paso. Oh, exactly. Exactly. Um, Thank you so much, Laura, for saying that. You know, we have every right, if we even were not from El Paso, we have every right to investigate. Well, we were told to investigate and to demand answers for our son, um, who was absolutely, his life was taken right there uh, on Fort Bliss and in El Paso and trafficked over to Mexico. So thank you for saying that. But I think it's important for people to know that, God works, um, God's work through all of this. And part of that work was for us to have that, because it's not just me that was raised in El Paso. My husband was too. Richard's father was too. He, three of his siblings were born at William Beaumont. So um, it gives us a familiarity with the area, with the culture there, with the military culture there, with the ground, the size, just the size. And I'm going to post up a size comparison of Fort Bliss. Fort Bliss is huge. And then when you add on all of White Sands, it is huge. It is the largest landmass military installation. And because we have been there, because we lived there as children, because we understand that area, we understand that, how big it is, how vast it is. Um, and, so that has helped us and our connections there, because when you grow up there, you still have connections there, right? And all of our connections there and into New Mexico and in Texas uh, helped us so much understand the area and what was going on and our son's case. So being, of course, being a military family, um, and being from El Paso, it has made this possible, this connection with all of you that are there that have given us tips and evidence. Evidence. It has made all of this possible to not only uncover what happened to Richard, and of course to uh, get to the point where we're getting two letters in 48 hours and 24 hours, really, from the President of the United States, that when you do an analysis on it, our analysis is complete. And we posted some of that up today, the analysis on the letters. And that's why we've redacted it, because we wanted a pretty fair analysis on those letters. They absolutely um, indicate that President Trump knows everything and that he's backing us up, everything, that we are on the right track, that we need to keep going. He's working in the background. We know that. We know that there's investigations in the background. And of course, this revelation of Plenitude Crematorium didn't happen under President Biden. It happened under President Trump. And President Trump absolutely knows where Richard's remains ended up and all what happened. He has the intelligence to do that. And that's what those letters, the letters that we received from him, confirm and um, indicate. I should say indicate, right? I don't want to say confirmed until we get the last until it all finally happens, right? Until it all finally happens. And until then, we're going to work very diligently because we can't even imagine what President Trump went through because what we've gone through is hell. What we've gone through is hell. What Richard went through, I mean, he lost his life, right? He lost his life. And President Trump, this was all to stop President Trump, to stop him. Why? Why? They don't want a secure border? No. They want to they must be satanic or something. If they want that border open and to traffic the way that Martha Aguilar, the Ladablia, or whatever her name is, the she devil, how she wants to go and do her business. That's satanic the way she wants to do her business. And and she needs to be arrested. Well, she was arrested. And, we'll see. We'll see what her punishment is for ripping babies out of young women and selling them to the homosexual community there in the United States. If they survived, right? And then to, rip out organs and everything and sell them on the black market. I mean, this is just a horror story. And, and our son's involved in it. Our son's involved. And this is why we cannot give up, because not only our family, but just think of all the families that are there. And I hope that we have been part of an inspiration for those families in Juarez to call for the federal investigation of Maru Campos and the Plenitude Crematorium and their loved ones' remains and everything, and demand justice. They are demanding justice, and so and I think the death penalty should be on the table. And in Mexico, the death penalty doesn't exist, but it does in the United States and it does in Texas. And maybe they need to be extradited to the United States because of Richard's body being there, right? Um, that's maybe that's why this is such a vicious negotiation for the repatriation of Richard's remains, because they could be then, made a deal or with the federal government in in Mexico, to extradite these narco politicians and everything that they did to the United States to be tried in the United States. And the death penalty is there. Absolutely. And so Manuel Salas, though, Carlos Manuel Salas, they don't have to go to Mexico to get him because he lives in El Paso. He has an El Paso address. He has a Texas driver's license. Why is the prosecutor for the northern zone in Chihuahua, Mexico, living in the United States, living in El Paso, Texas, when he's sworn to uphold the laws in his northern zone? Right? I mean, is he so afraid? It seems like he's so afraid he doesn't even want to live in Mexico. They're ruining Mexico. They've ruined Mexico. And, and it's beautiful. It's a beautiful land. There's no reason why he shouldn't want to live in his own country. And you see that Mexicans love their country because they wave the Mexican flag even though they don't want to leave the United States, because it's a safety issue. It's a corruption issue. And you know, in the United States, clearly in El Paso, it's corrupted because they're seeping in these Mormon faction cartel tied faction network is seeping in, and they are absolutely corrupting our government. And you know, soon there will be, you know, oh, you want to be in Mexico or United States. And right now people want to we still have safety, and so they want to be in the United States. Richard didn't have it so safe though, see, because it's creeping in. I hope that makes sense. And Carlos Manuel Salas is supposed to be the prosecutor. He's supposed to make Mexico safe so that people could enjoy their own country, the country of their birth. And he's clearly, clearly not doing his job because he's too busy living and whining and dining in El Paso, Texas. I hear they have a favorite restaurant. Yeah. Oh, yes, all US agencies are infiltrated. You know, and it's interesting because you're absolutely right. But we have, you know, they can be infiltrated. It's kind of like the church, you know, a lot of people kind of sometimes will worship the priest or the pastor. But when you go to a Catholic church, y- you know, it's beyond the priest. It's beyond the priest. The same thing in our Anglican um, part of the. It's not about the man, right? It's about the liturgy, it's about the sacraments, it's about the relics, it's about, you know, this history, the spirit of God and all of that. So this is the same thing with the United States. You can have these corrupt individuals, and we don't want the corrupt individuals. Clearly, we don't want them, but you can have them. But there is a 1776 spirit in the United States. There is the Constitution. There is the relics of our country that absolutely um, are are still in place and control the country. And so, you know, you have these infiltrators that want to remove that. They have to remove the bones, they have to remove everything about the country in order to really control it. And I hope that they need to take away the 1776 spirit. And so that's why they've gone into the school system. That's why they've gone into the press, the media. They want to control the minds and get rid of that spirit. Um, the volunteer spirit of the United States, the freedom spirit of the United States. And, you know, you can control the monies, you can control the Senate seats or the Congress seats or whatever. But that that's nothing. That's nothing because the real power is in the spirit, right? Is in the spirit of the United States. So that's what they're trying to control. And you know, and by doing that, they're exposing themselves in their positions. So we know that Mario Campos now is a narco politician, and um, we know those that are in the United States government, like Veronica Escobar. She's a narco politician, right? Beto O'Rourke was a narco politician. We know that. So they're exposing themselves now for what they really are. And I think that's going to be very, very helpful for the voters, just like the churches. Yes. And And of course, they had to infiltrate the churches because they're going after the spirit. And that's why you've got to really vet and be very careful in your churches. Um, the duty of the church is to administer the sacraments. If they're not administering the sacraments, you need to go to a church that administers the sacraments, because the is in the sacraments, right? Of course, the Word of God. The readings of the Word of God and in the sacraments. And it's in the liturgy, right? It's in the liturgy, the history, and in the relics, right? Most cathedrals couldn't be a cathedral unless they had a relic, because there's a spirit in the historical pieces that you can keep, right? The memorials. And of course, um, when you're looking at the sacraments, um, is it Christian? If you're a Christian, then the way to really see if it's Christian is if they believe in the Apostles' Creed, the Nicene Creed, and the Athanasius Creed, which really defines the Trinity. So, once you know these major pieces, then you could really protect yourself from being exploited by these fake churches, these fake priests, these, you know, um, and they have all these nice words, right? They say Jesus is king and nothing but Jesus and all of that, right? But I can tell you there's a lot of deception. People that will say that they will commit blasphemy. Um, in this whole case, it's just unbelievable, unbelievable how some of these people will lie and deceive, um, to act with impunity with all their criminal actions. 2014 elementary, my oldest child was 5 years old, inside school premises, her coach, and nothing was done, even with hospital papers. Yeah, the grooming is absolutely that they're allowing this stuff to happen. And it's horrible. It's horrible. And I just don't know the answers except for what we're doing. For what we're doing is exposing them and filing. And that's why we can't give up, even though we know President Trump is on this. We can't just let him do this without helping him. And it's a big world, and it's very corrupt times. So, it's like the fish, right? You have all these little fish, and when they all act together as one big fish, they can really they have victory. But if you give up, or if you let someone else do it, um, that's going to be a real problem. That's when the real problems happen. That's when the shark can come in and take over. And so that's why you're sharing. That's why all your tips, all your evidence that you're sending is so helpful. And we really appreciate it. So thank you so much. That's just Carlos Manuel Salas, living in the United States, um, as a prosecutor for Mexico, tampering with cases, tampering with our son's case, lots going on there. And that's what we really want for you to know. And please share. And please share. Thank you so much. We love you. And we're so glad for all your patience with us. God bless. And I'll be back tomorrow, God willing.